and it'll be available to watch through the council's social channels. I'd like to ask for apologies first. I know we do have an apology from Councillor Anne Dowling.
Yes, thank you, Provost. That's the only apology tendered. All other members are present, with Councillors Early, Nicholson, Burns, Campbell, Neil Graham, Gray, Hood, Innes, Leishman, Councillor James McLaren, Councillor Kenny McLaren, Councillor Mags McLaren, Councillor McCulloch, McGonigal, Maguire, Milet and Shaw joining us online. All other members are in the chamber.
Okay, I'd just like to remind the members online, if you're having any trouble with your connection, can you please try and make us aware of it as soon as you can. I don't mind halting the meeting for a minute or two until we get you back in the event that we do lose you due to your connection, but just let someone know and we'll help you out. Can I ask for declarations of interest and transparency statements, please?
Yep, Lorraine, I've got one, just motion 2.
Is that Councillor Burns? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Lorraine. It refers to Glasgow City Council. I will be taking part in the motion, just a connection. I do work for them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was Councillor Burns.
Yep.
Okay, Councillor John Shaw.
Provost, I don't have a declaration of interest, but I do have an emergency motion. Would this be the time to announce I have an emergency motion, or you won't?
Okay, thank you for alerting me. Could you?
Carol has it.
Yeah, I'll bring you back in before we actually start the business and the agenda,
No
John. Okay.
All right, good stuff.
I don't think there are any others. Okay. Thank you for that. As I've always said, if you remember that you have any interest during the meeting and on any of the items, please let me know as soon as possible. I'm still happy to take your declaration at that point. Okay, now before we actually move on to the business of today's meeting, I would like to just make a wee statement. I'm sure you might all have heard about the death of a very valued member of our community, Emily Brown. And Emily's funeral is actually today, and sadly, I don't think any of us are going to be able to make it. So because of that, I would like to take this opportunity to send my condolences to all of the family. It'll be a very sad day for them. As you know, Emily was one of the only, I think there's only 2 or 3 survivors left now. Emily was a survivor of the Glen Cinema disaster. Showed up to all the community events to commemorate that disaster. Every year without fail, she managed to get along even when she was very frail, very infirm. But she was actually a really lovely woman, and she was liked by everyone who met her. I'm sure that, you know, her loss to our community is great indeed. And I think a lot of us are really, really feeling it. So I just wanted to say that and ask if you would please observe a minute's silence for Emily. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Okay, that brings us on. Oh, sorry, John. John, do you want to please send your emergency motion? Have you sent it? Okay.
Yeah, Carol has it. So
okay, thank you. I think it might be in the chat. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay, Councillor Shaw. I'm happy to accept that.
Okay, good stuff.
Yeah. So can we send that round to the councillors, Carol? Thank you. Carol's just sending it round now.
Are we talking about it at the end of the meeting?
Yeah, I'll take it at the end, John. I'm
Okay,
happy
yep.
to have it on the agenda though.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you, Provost.
Okay. Next is the Provost update, which I think has been sent to you already. So you have that in your inbox. And we move on to item 2, minutes of meetings of council boards and panels. Can we agree? Thank you. And that brings us on to the presentation by Renfrewshire Youth Voice. I'm delighted to actually have them with us today, and I have asked them to come along and do a short presentation for you, really just to let you know about their activities, what they are, what they're all about, what they do, because I'm sure that many of you have heard of them, but you don't really know what it is that they do. So I think, Dave, if you want to actually get them up. So we have Renfrewshire Youth Voice at the back of the chamber here, so I'd like to ask you to welcome them. So this is an opportunity for them today, as I said, to give us a wee heads up about what they do, but also they have been learning about local democracy in the council and the process of council policies and things like that. So I've been meeting with them over the last few months, and hopefully they'll get to learn something from their experience today. Well, listen, I just reckoned if they can do this today, then they can probably do anything. So yeah, I suppose they have been thrown into the deep end, but be kind to them. Thank you very much. So do you know how to operate your microphone then? Okay, someone's got their speaker on. Okay, that's okay now, I think. Thank you. Okay, if you'd just like to begin. Dave is sharing his screen. You can see the slides on the TV. And there are TVs behind you also if you want to turn around and look at them.
Hi, I'm Jack. This is Ian and Jennifer. And today we're going to take a few minutes of your time to talk about our work at Renfrewshire Youth Voice.
Alrighty, so we've got our next slide all about who we are and what we do as a charity. But we aim to bridge the gap between young people and decision makers like yourselves, because there's been a lot of important things that young people might have needed to be saying about their community and the places they live in, because they love it just as much as the next person. But there's been a bit of a gap. So we're just trying to bring everything together with the young people and their important ideas that they might have. So we're comprised of two boards and regular members. I myself, I'm a member of RYV, I'm Ian. And then our board members, we have a chairperson, Jack here, our treasurer, Jennifer, and we have our vice chair with us in the back of the room. And then we also have a communications director, an events director, and a secretary who aren't with us today. Sorry, one of them is with us today. But we're aiming to try and connect young people to process so they can try and, just say what they need to be said and everything that they think might be important to them. Thank you.
RIV does as an umbrella group for all youth groups within Renfrewshire. So today we aren't here just as RIV, but here to speak on behalf of every youth group within Renfrewshire and ask you all to pay better attention to our work and what we're doing, because we think it's really necessary and important. Some of the groups we're affiliated with are Erskine Youth Council, who are doing great work to tackle issues within the community. Erskine, Bulgarian and Shannon. Another group we have is a Yes group, which tackles gender-based violence, especially within young people and girls. Just last week, the three of us had the opportunity to hold the banner at the Reclaim the Night rally, which was a great honour for us. There's many other great groups that we're really proud to say that we work with and know personally. Another group that we're affiliated with closer is the Scottish Youth Parliament, where we have multiple members of RIV, our proud MSYPs, and our own events director, Amira, is a standing MSYP. And also just does amazing work being done within our community that we feel deserves the recognition that we're asking you to give it today. Thank you.
So 2025 has been a very busy year for us. We've hosted many events and we've worked together so well as a group. The highlights for us this year have definitely been hosting our second night at the bungalow this summer. We held one in 2024 and we got an amazing turnout. We thought we couldn't do better, but this summer we did. We got 175 young people in attendance, as well as having 4 incredible performances by young bands. And it was just a really good night. It was great to get people, out of their houses or off of the streets during the summer holidays, because we've recognised that there's not a lot for young people to do, especially when they're not in school. Another big highlight for us has been hosting our 13th annual Positive About Youth Awards. We host these every November, and it's just a good way to celebrate the achievements and to recognise all the good work that young people do within our community. We feel like the work that young people do is often overlooked or just often not cared about because they are young people. And it's just, 13 years ago, RYV decided to start recognising it and to make a point of celebrating young people. And it's really great to be part of it nearly over a decade on, and just to keep that going. Also this year, we've been really focusing on building relationships within the group, but also with other youth voice groups like BYC, another group, the Evolve group, and even out with Renfrewshire. We've really enjoyed this year meeting with East Wren Youth Voice. It's just really good to see that no matter where young people are from, we all have the same goals and aims. We all want the same things. A few weeks ago, we attended the Youth Summit in East Wren, and it was 8 youth voice groups from the 8 constituencies that make up the west of Scotland. We all met and we all came together and we all discussed what we'd like to see in our communities. Another big relationship that we've been wanting to build is the relationship with decision makers. And thankfully this year, through meeting the Provost at different events, we've managed to build up that relationship, and we hope to continue building that as we go into 2026.
So here we have some personal impacts from these 2 members beside me, and how much this has done for them, how much joining Renfrewshire Youth Voice has built them up as people, and how much they have changed since they've joined. And it's been, what, a good year? Sorry, 2 years. Quite impressive stuff, but I've only been here a short while, and I did know them slightly beforehand, but I think now being a part of RYV, for even just as little amount of time that I have been, I can understand how they've become who they are. So I'd like to hand it off to Jack. Sorry, Jennifer first. I was right the first time.
I joined RYV in February 2024. At that point, I was in my 5th year of high school and didn't have any idea what I wanted to do when I left school. My grades were mediocre, I had little to no passion or motivation in any subject or extracurricular, and nothing seemed appealing to me. After joining RYV and getting to experience the amazing things that youth work could do for young people in my area, I was immediately hooked. With every meeting I attended, I fell in love with the work I was doing more and more. I grew closer with the members of the group and the workers, and I could feel my confidence growing, and the chances of making youth work my profession became more and more plausible. With the help of one of my workers, I was able to get accepted into the community education course at the University of the West of Scotland, where I've been studying since September. And starting in January, I'm doing my placement with Youth Services. As of the August AGM, I am the chairperson of RYV. Taking on this role has allowed me to grow and mature in a way I didn't expect, but I welcomed. Taking on this leadership role has given me the opportunity to lead the planning of events that I am beyond proud and honoured to have been a part of. If not for RIV, I would have never went to university. I'd have never discovered what I love to do, and I wouldn't have met some of my best friends. RIV not only does amazing things for the young people in Renfrewshire, but also does amazing things for people who are part of it. Thank you.
Since joining RIV early last year, it has really and truly brought me out of my shell. It told me that my voice as a young person matters. It's always inspired a great deal of confidence within me because of this. As well as a newfound self-esteem, I've also gained valuable life skills like communication, teamwork and organisation, as well as many invaluable friends. In this past year, RYV has reached new heights we never thought possible, and the fact that I've been a part of it is a source of great pride for me. Because RYV has made me the person I am today, and it will continue to shape the person I grow into. My eyes have been opened to the value of community, the power of our youth, and the endless possibilities which arise when you have a passion. And feeling these things through RYV has been instrumental in pushing me to pursue studies and hopefully a career in politics. As it has for Jack, RYV has given me purpose. It doesn't just do good for young people in and around Renfrewshire, but also for the young people within its own membership. I hope you too will soon feel the value of our organisation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nick?
The coming year has a lot of exciting things we've got planned. One of our first is our plans to hold a youth expo, which hopefully with the support of all yous in the room today, will have decision makers meet the wonderful youth groups we spoke about today and find out what they like to accomplish, what they have planned and how that you can maybe help them. Another thing we're planning on doing next year is hosting our board trainings, which is an opportunity for us to grow our confidence in fields, be able to better suit our roles that we've been given, and overall become more positive members of our community.
We also hope to host another band night next summer because of the overwhelming demand and how well it's been received. We hope to
come.
if you want. We hope to get more young performers and hopefully establish more recurring or a bigger environment and culture around young artists and just art in general and things for young people to do. We feel like that's really important, and we know that other young people out with our group also feel that way. If they didn't, they wouldn't come to it. We also hope to host our 14th Positive About Youth Awards in November. We're already looking forward to it. We're already thinking about what we're going to do because young people aren't going to stop doing things. Young people aren't going to stop achieving. Young people aren't going to, do nothing as much as we think they do. There's always going to be more to celebrate and more to recognise, and we hope to continue to do that. We hope to never stop. There's also so much more. We want to establish more relationships, not just with youths, but with our other affiliated groups, with other youth voice groups throughout Scotland. We really hope to do that, and we really hope that 2026 is an even better year for RYV.
I fear this opportunity would go amiss if I didn't take a moment to speak about how our group can help all yous. We are a window into how young people feel in Renfrewshire. We are able to properly show you how young people feel abandoned and how that yous can tackle that issue. for so long, young people haven't been heard, their issues haven't been properly handled, and I feel our job here today is to show you that young people deserve to be listened to have their voices heard, because they are the future of Renfrewshire. And I really hope that today's presentation has showed you that. We're also a very good sorry.
We're very proud to represent young people in Renfrewshire and young people as a whole, but we also recognise that working together wouldn't just be good for us. It would also benefit you as councillors. We know it's important to you that you adequately represent and work for your communities, and without the help of young people, without the help of us, we're unsure how successfully you can do that. We are here for you as much as you are here for us. We just want to work together as you do to make Renfrewshire a better place for everyone. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. We're so appreciative for the Provost and all of you for having us in here today, and we really hope that what we've said today has left an impact on you, and it can follow through into future projects that we may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think the future of Renfrewshire is in safe hands. We also appreciate you coming in very much. I mean, I think I speak for everyone in here when I say that, you know, you are exemplary role models for people younger than yourselves, and they have fine people to look up to. To come in here and give us a presentation is pretty scary. Don't know if I would have done that when I was young, that's for sure. But maybe one day we'll see some of you sitting in this chamber in these seats and not just as visitors. So thank you for coming along. Now, I'm going to ask councillors if they have any questions for you, but to be very gentle with you. Bearing in mind, we do have a motion on the agenda, which you're going to be able to speak to or ask questions. But if you have any questions for the young people, Councillor Lisa Marie Hughes.
Not a question, just a very brief point, no, Provost, because I know, firstly, thank you for that presentation. I just want to echo what the Provost said. For people of your age to come in and be able to...
Oops. Who's the culprit? Sorry, Councillor Hughes.
So for people of your age to be able to come in here and present incredibly well to a chamber full of elected members, as an elected member, as a new one, I was fairly young and it's quite scary coming in here. So incredibly well done. I agree with the Provost. I think the future is bright. Very much welcome the invitation to speak to you. When I was elected 8 years ago, and when I was elected, I was 34 and I was considered young. Our youngest councillor was 29. She's now an MSP. We've fortunately in this term got some younger people. We've got Bruce and Ben who are in their early 20s. There's still a gap between the age of people who can vote and the age of people who are in the chambers. So let's work on getting more younger people in chambers, because you're absolutely right. For me, I was 34 and there's an 18-year gap between the 16-year-olds who can vote and me. That is a whole generation of people whose voices need to be heard. So I just really welcome your presentation today and the invitation to work with you. I think it's brilliant and I hope we see some of you in the chambers in the future.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to contact your councillors to speak to them. I'm absolutely certain that they will be more than happy to engage with you locally.
Thank you so much for the kind words. You're right. This was quite a scary experience for us. I know that we were all talking about how nervous we were for today, but for me, I think that the importance of this outweighed how scared I was, knowing that we've been given a special opportunity to speak directly to you about the issues young people face in Renfrewshire. No amount of nerves could ever stop me from doing that, and I'm appreciative for this opportunity.
Well said, Jack. Yeah. We have a couple of other questions, if you don't mind. Councillor Jill Graham.
Thank you very much, Provost. And
Jill's
like,
here.
I know. I'm here. Sitting quietly, Provost.
I know.
Thank all three of you for speaking so passionately and eloquently and quite rightly holding us to account. I wondered, and Jennifer, you've definitely got a future in politics. the way you speak. What do you feel we can do as councillors to support and highlight your work? Are there things that we can do to, I mean, you were talking about us meeting, but what do you think we should be doing to listen to you and help you?
I think what we've been talking about is just that support. We've got this youth expo coming up soon. A good way to start this relationship would be to actually have people in attendance, but also to just be in contact with us, to open that communication, and to consult with us, but also to act on that, because a lot of the work with young people feels like it is just surface level. Like, we want to actually make change, and we can make change. We have helped to make change. We have helped to make a difference. But we know with support and with help and guidance from councillors like yourselves, we can make a more significant difference. And that is just what we're trying to do as an organisation.
Yeah.
It's building that relationship, isn't it? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jennifer. Councillor John McNaughton.
Thanks, Provost. That was a great presentation, and I was taken by the comment about the disconnect between young people and the policy decisions. Now, as chair of the local partnership in Paisley North, West and Central, we have two young students from Castlehead High who actually sit on the partnership, and I've been encouraging those to take part in the local place plans which are currently underway, and these are plans that are going to set the agenda for years to come. And too often plans such as that and policy has been taken without due reference to young people. So I think it's important that we do involve them at that stage, and it's just to highlight there's another opportunity for young people to get involved through a new initiative under the Planning Acts, which will allow you to set the scene for your local area in the future. And it's probably worth looking into that a bit more. But thanks for the presentation.
That's a good point, Councillor McNaughton. Thank you. Councillor Audrey Doig.
Thank you, Provost, and very much thanks to all the youth voice that have come today and to help in this presentation. I was a training officer for many years for Renfrewshire Leisure and taught many a young person different skills to go on in the job that they were doing or the aspirations that they had. So my offer to you is, if you wish me to come along to some of your meetings and talk about presentation skills or how to get onto different levels of politics from, as John was saying, the local area boards right up, I'm more than willing to do that. And you'll get my contact details on the Renfrewshire Council website. But power to your elbow, and I hope that all your wishes and all your aspirations come true. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doig.
Thank you so much for the offer. That is too kind, and we'll definitely be taking you up on that. The same goes for everyone in this room. You all have valuable information and life skills that we all hope to achieve and hope to learn to further our work. Any one of you were to come up to us after this, even one of you, and ask how you can work with us further, this whole day will have been a great success for us. So just thank you so much for your kind words.
Thank you, thank all of you. And you're sitting right beside Janie, who's our Director of Education. So I don't know if you've met Janie before, but she just doesn't just cover nurseries and schools, you know, she covers youth services too. So she's a good contact to have. But I want to thank you all so much for coming in. I really do appreciate it. I'm sure the councillors do too. And we'll see you soon. So you're welcome to stay to hear the rest of the meeting. Or you're welcome to leave. Don't feel bad if you want to leave, please. So yeah, if you want to just take your seats again and we'll proceed with the meeting. Aren't they a delight? It's good to know if you've got young people like that that look like for older kids, isn't it?
Obviously the one in the middle.
Since 17 or 18, no, it did not look like that.
I know.
17.
I know.
That was about 12 or something.
Okay, councillors, thank you, and thank you for your patience in giving Renfrewshire Youth Voice your ear this morning. We will move on now with the agenda. Item 4 on the agenda is the Treasury Management and Prudential Indicators Mid-Year Review 25 to 26. Do we have any questions? Councillor Graham Clark.
Thank you, Provost. I note again the disappointing delays in major projects, Paisley Museum reimagined and the much needed housing upgrades. Can officers confirm that there is currently a detailed timeline for the deferred projects and a risk mitigation plan? And secondly, on page 14/15, item 7.8, is there a possibility that the reductions in the operational boundary and the authorised limit constrains the council's flexibility in future investment? Thank you.
Thank you. In relation to the first part of your question, I think you might already have been given that information. Am I wrong?
I'm not totally sure we've got a timeline in terms of housing capital projects. I do believe that we have a date for the museum there.
Yeah, okay. Christine?
Thanks very much.
Christine McCourt then. Thanks, Christine.
Thanks, Provost, and thanks for the question. Just going on to the second one first. In terms of the operational boundaries and the limits that we set there, these move in, excuse me, these move in line with our expectations of capital spend. So we feel there's a sufficient headroom in there projecting what we expect to spend at the moment, that would not pose any sort of restriction on flexibility around about that. And we tend to revisit these generally when the capital spend perhaps changes, so they're reasonably flexible in terms of our ability, and there's sufficient headroom in there for us to be able to cope with that. In terms of the housing capital projects, I need to come back on that one in terms of the timelines for that. Is that the G-Generation programme in particular?
Yeah. I'll bring Gordon in and see if Gordon can clarify that a wee bit more for you, Graham.
Thanks, Provost. Thanks, Councillor Clark. We take regular reports to the Communities and Housing Policy Board that sets out the new building and the regeneration programmes, how they're progressing and how they're progressing against the timelines that have been set. So the regular reports given to board, and I'm happy to get yourself a copy of the last report that went on those particular topics, Councillor Clark, that will set that information out for you.
Yeah, I thought we had been given it, but we'll make sure we get it to you, Graham. Okay, no more questions? No? Okay, can we agree the report, please? And move on to item 5, which is the Commissioner for Ethical Standards in Public Life in Scotland, their annual report 24 to 25. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, can we agree the report, please? That brings us on to the motions. That was very quick. Okay, item 6 is the first motion on the agenda, and that's by Councillors Paterson and Steel. If we have any amendments, could you please make it known and we can have them distributed? No amendments? No? Okay, Councillor Paterson.
Thanks very much, Provost. I think the motion kind of speaks for itself, what we're asking for today. I appreciate, with the recent draw in the kind of times and locations, the logistics of this have become considerably more difficult than I had originally anticipated. But I still think it'd be worthwhile for a kind of thorough feasibility to be done. I think there's still scope for doing something in Renfrewshire to involve as many of our communities as possible in a kind of accessible, affordable fan zone. Whether we have to look indoors now and do some kind of partnership with obviously with OneRen in terms of the town hall or the lagoon, which could provide indoor premises. Or whether we look to external partners like St Mirren or Braehead or other large external partners and maybe do some kind of joint venture with this. I think it's certainly feasible. I think if Scotland can get to the World Cup after 28 years of trying, that we can put something on to mark and celebrate
that occasion, the achievement. Now, I was at the game when we were qualified, and I have to say it was probably one of my best experiences at Hampden supporting Scotland. Certainly that I can remember. I was at the last time we qualified when we beat Latvia 2-0 as well, so it was quite a nice experience to be there again. But what really hit me, as much as the euphoria in the stadium, was in the days after, the kind of sense of positivity that was generated. And I have to admit, I must have spent most of the next day looking at videos of the goals, but then the videos of the celebrations started to come through in the different pubs and areas all over the country, and you've seen that kind of level of positivity, which we don't get too often in Scotland when it comes to football. So I think we need to really try and seize this opportunity. There will be an economic benefit as well. I was reading that every Scotland game, they reckon will generate about 3 to 3.5 million for the hospitality industry in Scotland. Hopefully there is more than 3 games, but I won't get ahead of myself. But so that is a substantial increase in. And I think whatever we decide to do as part of Fan Zone, I would hope that we engage with a kind of hospitality industry as well, so we're not cutting across things that they've got planned, because I don't want us to do something that would inadvertently stop another business that's trying to do something in terms of capitalising in the World Cup, because hospitality's had a hard time of late, as we all know, and we read and hear about restaurants, pubs and other things closing on a regular basis. So from that point of view, I think it's something we need to seriously explore in a kind of wider context to make. I mean, in terms of the positivity this is generated, I'm a big believer in football in general. I enjoy watching it. I'm not so much, was never much of a player, but I've always enjoyed watching it and attending games. And I think the positive impact, not just economically, but socially, that football has in this country is often underestimated and actually disregarded by many, many folk who feel that football fans are just out to cause trouble, to cause disruption. I think we focus on the negatives too much, not enough of the positive sides of the football world is brought up. That goes from grassroots right up to our professional clubs, which again generate great for the economy. But if you look at this time of year, do Christmas appeals and do a lot of support for the most vulnerable in our communities. So I think as part of that, this positivity, we should kind of harness that as well. Football fans, the only time I read about it in the paper is when something has went wrong, and I think we need to move away from that, because we are the best supported league per capita in the whole of Europe. That means more people attend games in Scotland than any other country. In terms, and I appreciate that skewed because of the nature of the West Coast and the kind of 2 big football clubs we have skews that stat slightly, but it does show that with a football loving nation. And the biggest impact that I want to see is the encouragement in the future for our kind of younger folk. We had some young people in speaking there. I'm talking about younger again, probably. My own son is involved with a football club, and I was quite pleased at the next training session we had. The boys were all trying to recreate McTominay's goal with no success. Some of them managed a Kenny McLean, to be fair, but that's maybe slightly easier when you're not in the 97th minute of a crucial match. It might be easier to score for there, but it's caught their imagination, and I think it's important to capitalise on that. So any feasibility we do, I appreciate again the kind of logistics of the time, but we need to have an eye on young people and how we involve them, and it shouldn't just be a big beer garden, is what I'm saying. As much as that will be a fun part of it, there has to be space for families, children, maybe people with additional needs, sensory issues, who still want to engage and be part of the community and join the game. That's really all I've got to say. Thanks very much, Provost.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Paterson. Councillor Steel. Thank you, Councillor Ian McMillan.
Thanks very much. I think Jim's had a preview of my notes of what he said. Listen, I share your passion for the Scotland football team, who go to all the home games, and I was there a couple of weeks ago, and certainly I've seen a lot of huge football games in my time supporting Rangers and supporting Scotland, but that's up there, certainly up there with the best that I've ever seen. The atmosphere amongst the 50,000 that were there that night was unbelievable. And what's good about watching Scotland is that a lot more kids are able to go and see Scotland, and there was kids all round about me, and and also it brings supporters of different clubs together. Jim will know this, when you buy your tickets for these Scotland games, you get them in blocks of 4 or 5. So you're sitting beside the same people for those 4 or 5 games. And I was sitting beside Partick Thistle supporters, a Celtic supporter and a Hearts supporter. And it didn't matter what team we supported, we were all there supporting Scotland, cheering the guys on. And what happened that night was just absolutely fantastic. So much so that I even shook hands with a certain Gordon McNeil after the game. I think we really wanted to cuddle with each other, but we didn't. I know we kept that member officer relationship going. We just shook hands. But listen, it was fantastic, and Jim's right. What happened afterwards, and on the way home, the number of phone calls I got, and the next day, as you say, reliving the goals and all the celebrations. And football is a force for good in this country, and as Jim says, we've got the highest proportion of people who actually go to the games. Now, whether it's, I know Rangers and Celtic take up a huge number, but every Saturday you'll see people going to all sorts of games, from grassroots right up to elite football. So certainly football's a big factor here. I know Jim has mentioned about the kick-off times, and we certainly had a debate in the Labour group, because we were very wary that the kick-off times could be a bit obscure, if you like, and I think that's a shame that's worked out that, but that was always going to be the case when a country's 5, 6, 7, 8 hours behind us. But we certainly would support something being done to bring people together. It's probably more likely to be indoors, and I take up Jim's suggestions that there's various options, including involving the hospitality industry. But the main thing for me is for younger people to know what Scotland been in the World Cup. I was lucky enough that I can remember Scotland playing in the 1974 World Cup when I was 9. My mum and dad had just got a colour television. They carried on, it was for my birthday, but it was really for the World Cup. And I remember me and my mates sitting watching Scotland's Zaire 1974 in a colour television, and it was absolutely fantastic. And for anybody really to remember the last time Scotland in the World Cup, they probably need to be closer to 40, really, to have any great memory, which is quite incredible. My son was 12 the last time Scotland won the World Cup, and he'll be 40 in February. So it's really great to get young people involved in it. But of course, the football scene has changed dramatically since 1998, given the number of women and girls that play football. And I know my own granddaughters are really excited about this, and I think football and sport in general could get a real boost from the country's participation. Now, what we've seen a few weeks ago, I don't think will be anything compared to the fever pitch this country will be like come June, and hopefully into July if we manage to get far in the competition. But listen, it's absolutely fantastic, and certainly delighted to support the motion that's been put forward by Jim Paterson and Andy Steel, who I know are passionate Scotland men like myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. I still remember all the words to "We're on the March with Ali's Army." I could sing it to you if we had an accompanying piano, but we don't. Okay, Councillor Bruce McFarlane.
Yeah, I think hearing stories of like Scotland in the World Cup back in '98, I never experienced that. And you start getting to the stage where, am I ever going to see this? Is this ever going to happen? And when it was into the 94th minute, and I'm suggesting some expletives as to where the referee may have put his whistle, but that shot, I mean, it's replayed in our mind several times, and I think as Councillor McMillan was saying there, it was just like that sort of coming together with people. I was similar. I had people behind me who were for Orkney, who questioned why Stevie Clark was bringing Kenny McLean on, and I was like, nah, he'll score. Maybe not quite like that. Exactly. That's why I had faith in him, Eddie. And 2 St Mirren ex-St players scored for us that day. I think that's great. I think it's great for the country, and I think as well, we're talking about the positive impact football fans can have. I do think the Tartan Army are an absolute credit to Scotland when they go and represent us at tournaments. We've seen them at Germany, and I think the emotion is more pertinent this time round because Germany is a lot more accessible for a lot of people. So even if you didn't have tickets, you're still gone for the party. that's not really an option for as many people this time, and I think that's why it's more pertinent. But it was worth all the years of heartbreak. My first game was the infamous Awolomo miss. For what is this I'm getting brought into? But it was worth all of that for that day. So yeah, I watched the replays about 8,000 times. Might watch it later on. But I think it's a good motion. I think it'd be great for the country, and it's good to have that sort of positivity back in our national sport.
Thank you, Bruce. Councillor Lisa Marie Hughes.
Thanks, Provost, and first of all, thanks, Councillor McMillan. I feel old now. I was 17 then, and you weren't even born yet. Which just goes to show you how much younger people in politics I've got. Yeah, it's obviously, I support the motion. It's super exciting. From my perspective, obviously, I'm the chair of One Ren, and we will, as well as very much wanting to support what's been put forward in the motion, there's a real opportunity for additional programming and things for us and drawing people in. And one of the things that I noticed through the piece was that, you know, national teams doing well like this, national teams actually getting to the point where we get to go to the World Cup brings in people who are not actually football fans. You know, I'm a diehard football fan of a couple of teams since I was young. I'm married to someone who's not a massive football fan. I've never seen them so excited as during that game. So it is an opportunity for us to draw people into the sport who aren't usually fans, who wouldn't usually play. And it also is an opportunity then, if we have community initiatives around sport with things like walking football and that sort of thing, they might then decide they would go and do that because they've become excited about it. I think Councillor Paterson's point about the general community benefits is a really important one, and we need to harness that as much as we can. Our football teams across the piece in Renfrewshire do an enormous amount of work in the community, very quietly, supporting often the most vulnerable people, supporting people to be active, supporting people to be part of the community, supporting lots of initiatives that are really nothing to do with football. Councillor Nicholson very kindly let me take his place for one of the days at the COSLA conference this year because there was a really exciting sports agenda. Councillor McMillan came along and saw it as well, and we had such an incredible presentation from the very senior people in the sports from all of the governing bodies around the work that's done across the country. And they talked about things that, like, so there was a really nice video from a women's football group, and what was really keen was these were not women who were athletes, they admitted that themselves. They were women who were at a place in their life where they didn't really know what they wanted to do or who had gone through hardship, and they joined this football group, and yeah, they were playing football, but they were also just connecting as people, and they'd gone on to help other people in their community. And I just think, as well as just celebrating the fact that we've actually got to the World Cup again, there are just so many opportunities, and I think we have to harness that, and I'm really pleased that Councillors Paterson and Steel brought this today, and that we've been able to talk about the broader spectrum of it too.
Thanks, Councillor Hughes. Okay, I'm going to bring in Councillor Paterson to sum up.
Thanks, Provost. I don't have much more to add. I think the kind of spirit of this motion is what I intended. My next plea is to the elected members in terms of the fixture schedule now. Scotland will play Brazil at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday night in June. It'll be full council the next day. So I'm asking now, no motions, come on now, play the game. Let's all band together. Let's agree, we can win it out here in an hour. We can all do it from home. It will be much appreciated because the majority of us will be up at 11 in the morning watching a crucial World Cup game.
Maybe
so
we could move it to Wednesday then.
I don't know, that's not, that's, have a look at it because I think we need to watch the time difference unless we want to see some of our councillors cutting about Miami and some speedos before the game. Maybe not the best idea. But anyway, but just to highlight that now, that's the crucial fixture, and it kind of clashes with one of our obviously important meetings. So let's just keep that in mind as a group. Thank you.
As well.
Could make an observation about it. Disappointed there's not been an amendment to move the council.
Yeah, Mark Conhan said he's a bit disappointed there's not been a motion to amend the date of the full council meeting. Yeah. Listen, I'll commit to having a wee look at it, okay? Because it is a fair point. There might be a lot of people who want to travel, so I'll look at it sympathetically. But so I'm assuming then that everyone's agreeing to the motion, yeah? Okay, motion's adopted. Okay, that brings us on to motion 2, which is Councillors McMillan and Montgomery. Do we have any amendments to this one? No amendments? Okay, Councillor McMillan.
Thanks very much, Provost. I wasn't intending bringing this to a full council meeting. The reason for that is I'd written to Susan Aitken, just expressing the Labour group's concerns, not trying to kid on, I was speaking for the council, but just the concerns of the Labour group over this. But unfortunately, although I've written to her twice, I've not had a reply. So I says, well, maybe if I get it to the full council, and if I'm fortunate enough to get full agreement on it, we maybe get some kind of reply and understand maybe their thinking on it and where it's at. Now, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, sorry, is it's still very much on the table in Glasgow City Council, and it's not for me or anybody else in this room to tell Glasgow City how to run their authority or raise money for services or whatever they need to do. But I think if it has an impact, or if any possible decision has an impact on neighbouring authorities like us here in Renfrewshire, we can't sit in our hands. We have to say something about it. And I find myself using the Clyde Tunnel more and more. Never used to use it all that much, and I'm sure I'm not alone sitting here or in Renfrewshire that you use the Clyde Tunnel for various reasons. I know the Scotstoun sports, we're just talking about sports there a minute ago. I know to get to Scotstoun, you generally have to go through the Clyde Tunnel. So there's a lot of young people who use the facilities there. There's football pitches, gyms, swimming pool and all the rest of it. And of course, the rugby team play at Scotstoun Stadium as well. So there will be people from Renfrewshire travel through there. So I wouldn't like to think that anybody going to use these kind of facilities or going to a sporting event is getting charged for getting through the Clyde Tunnel. But of course, there's a more serious aspect to it as well. That just along the road from once you get through the Clyde Tunnel is the Beatson Centre. Now, I used to travel through there to take my late mother to the Beatson Centre, and I certainly, it just leaves a bad taste in the mouth that anybody going through there, to go to these kind of medical services is going to get charged for it. It just doesn't seem right at all. And of course, there's other hospitals there in the north side of Glasgow as well. So, as I say, hopefully we get cross-party agreement in this. And the third part of the motion I've put forward is we write to the leader of Glasgow City Council expressing our opposition. And I think, as I say, it's appropriate for us to let Glasgow City Council, not in an aggressive way or an unfriendly way, but just let them know what we think about any proposals. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Nicholson. Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you, Provost. I'll try and be brief on this. I actually do sympathise a bit with Glasgow Council's position on this, if not the answers that they're coming up with. It is a bit of an anomaly that Glasgow Council have to look after the Clyde Tunnel. It would seem like all the other kind of bits of key road infrastructure that it should be Transport Scotland. I think there's a very strong argument Transport Scotland should be looking after the Clyde Tunnel. And where I disagree with Glasgow is the idea that you fund what is an expensive piece of infrastructure through residents of other councils. And I think we and other suburban councils around Glasgow need to take a stand against that. 65,000 vehicles a day use the Clyde Tunnel, of which there's going to be a fair number from Renfrewshire. And you don't really have a lot of choice because there's not an enormous amount of large crossings of the Clyde. So if you're from Renfrewshire and you need to go to the Beatson or Gartnavel, you really don't have a choice. And it's really unfair that you would then get landed with these kind of charges. It's also a move, it's a kind of backwards move in the devolution era. The movement has been to take tolls away from bridges and infrastructure. The Erskine Bridge, Forth Bridge, Tay Bridge. This would definitely be a retrograde step. Obviously, I do sympathise with Glasgow's position in this, but this is definitely not the answer. And I think it's right, and it's good to see that we've got kind of broad political agreement that this isn't a good deal for the residents of Renfrewshire. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Montgomery. Councillor Nicholson.
Thanks, Provost. If it's agreeable to the Chamber, the letter comes from myself, the leader of Glasgow City Council.
I'm not guaranteeing to get a reply either, but we'll give it a shot. The reason for that is because I watched the debate in Parliament last week about this particular issue, and there was a fundamental key point that was missed during that debate by, I think, everyone. And I read a comment about it in the press. It says, one reason is that people from outside the city regularly come in using the city's road network but not contributing to the cost as they pay council tax to another local authority. Now, the fundamental key point that struck me was Glasgow gets the vast bulk of its income from a block grant from the Scottish Government, which is income tax. So that principle is fundamentally wrong, because we all do contribute to the roads network in Glasgow. So to go on that basis is wrong, and it has to be pointed out to them. Another key point was when I last met the leader of Glasgow City Council, when it was first talking about the Clyde tunnel. Maybe they have a point with that, Clyde tunnel, but to expand that into a congestion charge for everybody who comes and goes, and the point was made about hospitals. We heavily rely on the QE hospital, the Western, all this to get in and out to appointments. You know, your appointments are all over the place now. So there's a fundamental key point that I mean, personally, I don't see how it's going to work. But what I did say to the leader of Glasgow City Council last time, well, I said, well, is it tariff wars now? Kind of jokingly, because if you do it, then what does that mean for the other council round about as well, who could apply the same principle, then getting a right girdle with regards to people being able to commute back and forward across all the city region without being hit with tariffs day in, day out, because they work, even crossing through Glasgow to get to Lanarkshire, they're getting charged, even though you're not staying in Glasgow, etc. So if it's okay for the Chamber, I'm happy to address that letter in conjunction with the officers about the actual practicalities of implementing this and pointing out the fact that we contribute and pay towards the upkeep of Glasgow's road network, just like every income taxpayer does to every bit of road network in Scotland. So that basis is the reason why I want to come in today and say, if you're happy with that, I can move on with that kind of, and I'll share the letter to the leader of Glasgow City Council to express Renfrewshire's point. Because my understanding is from the City Treasurers, it's still under investigation or consideration, whatever that means. But as I say, I think it's a good place and time to send in our points just now, and hopefully if that influences the way they work towards that, that may be helpful. Thanks, Provost.
Councillor Paterson.
Thanks, Provost. I agree with the motion. I'm unconvinced how feasible the scheme would be, but that's not for us to worry about. That's for the other authority to present their case. The issue I would take, I suppose, is that there's a kind of implication in this for me that us that don't stay in Glasgow are somehow a drain on the road network and resources of the city and not contributing anything. I don't go to Glasgow, drive down the roads and come back up for the house again without spending a penny. You know, I'm there injecting into the economy. If I'm going to use Scots and Leisure Centre, for example, because that's where I grew up, and if I take my boys swimming there, or if I take them to a Glasgow Warriors game, I'm contributing to the local economy. I work in Glasgow City Centre. I'm not the best at taking my lunch with me, so quite often I'm in Glasgow City Centre spending money. So it's kind of, there's this implication that somehow we're all in the suburbs driving in, tearing up the roads. Now, I get the principle with the Clyde tunnel. It does seem like an anomaly that it's no a key bit of infrastructure for Transport Scotland. But as Councillor Nicholson says, where do we draw the line? Do we start putting a toll just outside Braehead, the most popular shopping centre in the west of Scotland, as some kind of fire back? I mean, it's just where would it end? I don't think it's personally feasible, logistically or epically really, to start charging people to freely move around. And I agree with what Councillor Montgomery says. There's a settled will post-devolution about removing these tolls, and it's been cross-party, this settled will, and this would be a massive step backwards, and it would kind of go against that kind of settled will for me. So as a proud Glaswegian, somebody born and raised in Glasgow who now lives in Renfrewshire, I'd be very disappointed to see this progress, and I suppose an obstacle put up that would, let's face it, impact the most vulnerable. Because yes, I could pay and I use public transport the most of the time anyway, so I'm not sure how that would work either in terms of that. But if we decide to replicate this in Renfrewshire, we've got the airport and we've got Braehead, so if we really want to go down that road about charging tolls, we'll see how that plays out in the long run. Thanks.
Oh, I was fighting, Tom. Thanks, Councillor Paterson. Councillor Mullen.
Provost, just to add to that, we've got to remember that a lot of the services have been transferred to the Queen Elizabeth, especially children's services. So really, families have been penalised if this came to fruition to take children to appointments and stuff, but also the staff movement as well. So, I mean, I agree with everything that's said. I'm not going to disagree with anybody that's made comments on this, but I think it's a bit iffy to start to penalise people for trying to go to their butt and trying to go to hospital appointments. And I think surely we're all collective on this, that we can take this forward. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, I think there's main agreement in the chamber today. The motion is agreed, although in this case we are going to, the leader is going to write to the leader of Glasgow City Council rather than the officers. Everyone okay with that? Yeah, we can agree the motion. Okay, thank you. Motion 3, Councillors McMillan and Steel. Councillor McMillan.
Thanks again, Provost. Yourself, Councillor Steel, Councillor Cameron and myself were along at the celebration night that the Elderslie Wallace Bowling Club had a couple of months ago in Johnson Town Hall. I think it went very, very well, and I think we were all welcomed with open arms to go along and help them commemorate their special anniversary. As you'll know, the bowling club is within myself, Councillor Steel and Councillor Cameron's ward. We all know it well. They do so much more than just provide facilities for bowling. They're very, very active in their community and do an awful lot of good work along with the very active Elderslie Community Council out there. So I think I know you had the civic reception for them, and I know you've done your bit, Provost, as you usually do. But I just think it was as important as we get towards the end of the year that we have a kind of council response to this special anniversary. I've certainly known members of Elderslie Bowling Club for a long, long time, and they provide a place for older people to go along, socialise, mix with other people, give them a reason to get out of the house. And just like Councillor Lisa Marie Hughes had mentioned earlier on, the bowling is almost incidental. It's actually getting out of the house and socialising and mixing with other people, giving people a reason to get out their beds and do something and get back home and say, well, I've done something with my day rather than sit in the house. So for people's mental health, I think it's fantastic. And of course, it's not just Elderslie Wallace Bowling Club that provides this. There's bowling clubs throughout Renfrewshire, and I know you're a regular visitor to bowling clubs, Provost, for various reasons. So I just think it would be appropriate for us today to mark it, because 150 years, this is quite remarkable for any organisation to keep going. And I know Elderslie is very, very proud of its history, and certainly the Elderslie Wallace Bowling Club is very much part of that history. So hopefully, again, we'll get cross-party agreement on this. Thanks, Provost.
Thank you, Councillor McMillan. You'll note I didn't ask if there were any amendments because I just assumed there wouldn't be to this one. Councillor Steel. Okay, thank you. As you said, Ian, we did provide civic hospitality to help the club celebrate and to acknowledge the work that they've done. Bowling clubs are quite special. We have had a lot of bowling clubs in Renfrewshire recently celebrate big anniversaries. And, you know, out of all of the types of social clubs there are in Renfrewshire, they seem to be surviving the best. Now, I don't know what's at the back of that, but I think it probably is the fact that it gives people a social life. It provides that comfort and you know, and friendliness and activity. It keeps them really fit too. I mean, if you go to any bowling clubs, you'll find bowlers who are in their 80s and 90s still bowling. There's definitely something in it. That's why I'm going to join one as soon as I can, as soon as I have time. But yeah, so I think, you know, we've already provided the civic hospitality, but it's nice to actually congratulate them through this official route of the full council. So thank you for bringing this. So the motion agreed. Do we have an echo? Is it okay now? Okay. This is motion 4 now by Councillors Davidson and McDonald. Do we? we have an amendment. So can we distribute, do we just have one amendment? Yeah, can we distribute the amendment? The amendment. Councillor Nicholson, who's your seconder, Councillor Nicholson? Councillor Jacqueline Cameron. Yeah, we'll get that sent round to you. Okay, Caroline, I'll give you a wee minute to read the amendment. Just to be clear, Councillor Davidson, this is not an addition, this is a straightforward replacement of your motion. That is an amendment.
I would accept it as an addition, but not as a replacement.
Okay then. Okay, do you want to speak to your motion?
Can you clarify, Provost, if an addition is okay?
No, I don't think he's.
No, okay, well, it's not accepted then.
Okay. You want to carry on, talk to your motion.
Okay, thanks, Provost. If I can just start with a bit of background on the food bank, because, you know, our elected members will know all of what the food bank does, but just there's 115 tonnes of food distributed to people in crisis in 2024. 10,405 local people accessing 3 days emergency food in 2024 alone. That's an average of just under 30 for every day of the year. The Renfrewshire Food Bank is a project funded by churches, local churches, community group working together to stop local hunger. Renfrewshire Food Bank offers support to anyone at a time of crisis in Renfrewshire. They offer 3 days of balanced, nutritious food parcels to individuals and families who are in need, and they also do an awful lot more. Today we're focusing on the distribution centre at Paisley Baptist Church in 14 Lady Lane, Paisley. They're in operation 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday and Friday. This is one of 5 distribution centres in Renfrewshire, but it's the only one affected by the car parking charges. They rely on volunteers they rely on the help of volunteers, and currently there's 3 people who have volunteered for several years, and they're having to pay £6 3 times a day, 3 times a week to park their cars at the volunteer at the centre, and they just don't know how long they can sustain that cost. Back in August 2014, I wrote to the officers to grant the food bank parking permits, and it was subsequently refused. If required, now the food bank can actually give us the names of the 3 volunteers for the permits. The food bank would actually retain the passes out with these 3 distribution days so that to ensure there'd be no misuse of permits. Considering the poverty crisis that we are in the midst of, and the work done by Renfrewshire Food Bank locally with the help of the amazing work of the volunteers giving up their time and currently £18 a week each to help feed people who desperately need the food bank, I would urge every elected member to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Davidson. Can your seconder, Councillor McDonald? I need to bring Janice in first because she's the official secondary.
Thank you, Provost. I just want to add to what Councillor Davidson said in respect of the actual need for permits here. I'm just also wanting to understand if Councillor Nicholson's proposing this as an addition to what we're saying it's an alternative. Is that correct? And I think that the difficulty is that from what I understand of the regular visits with the food bank, that volunteers simply find it difficult to take expenses from the food bank. They feel that the money should be going to help distribute the food, particularly when the food banks got constant problems in terms of maintaining levels of supply. So it's difficult to accept the proposal as an alternative, because it's not about how the food bank uses its money, it's the difficulty in getting volunteers
particularly to work in Paisley, because they don't want to take money from the food bank and they're finding it too difficult to pay for their own parking, etc. So I've got a bit of a dilemma given it's Christmas. And I did particularly want to highlight a key issue that I think we've got parts of the council working on key initiatives like the food bank, and other parts of the council perhaps not doing intensive equality, human rights and fairer impact assessments that would pick up some of these potentially seen as minor but quite critical parts of delivery of programme. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So my head's a bit swimmy because I'm not sure really what I can say that might help to combine. I certainly wouldn't want to be in a position where we're trying not to accept more money for the food bank given its position.
Yeah, that is the position that you're in just now. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to let the mover of the amendment speak, Ian, and then if you want to come in.
Well, what I was going to ask for an adjournment, to be perfectly honest with you, because this is kind of.
I wouldn't be happy adjourning the meeting just now until we had.
Right. Okay. Well, that's fair enough, because this just came out of left field. We weren't expecting this. And if the council have making an offer of 10k, very hard for us to vote against that.
Agenda, but a subject matter, you can expect anything. To be fair, Councillor Nicholson.
Okay, Provost. I apologise for the move and the seconder having to sort of come in and feels as if in a bit of predicament. It's not meant to be like that. From where we are sitting, the £10,000 will obviously help the food bank with regard to their current appeal. We've supported them in the past through COVID. We've supported them when times are difficult for them, and we know there's an ongoing cost of living crisis, etc. And the point of the amendment is that it allows the food bank then to decide how they want to allocate and use that resource, i.e. to support volunteers or not. But I know that one of the local members has put his hand up to come in. My understanding is, and in speaking to the officers as well, we could have a solution to the parking out there locally with regard if once the food bank from today, if the food bank and their officers can have a dialogue with the local members as well with regards to what the parking is like out in that particular area. So I understand that there could be a solution to this with regards to the parking without the issue of passes, etc., which has its own policy wrapped around it all within the council. So what we're saying today is that we're prepared to support food bank and recognise the fact that the volunteers may have to maybe dissuaded to park there over an hour, because obviously the first hour or two are free. Dissuaded to park there, and maybe that's a dissuasion to them. But I think there's a solution for that we can find as a council, in conjunction, say, with the local ward councils as well, and obviously with the food bank. If that's helpful for the chamber in that respect, we can take that forward and have a discussion. But the resource we're planning to allocate today will also allow the food bank to consider themselves how best they'll then be able to say to the volunteers, we can support you. We've got a resource from the council that can be used to support the volunteers as well, whichever way they see fit. That's the way we aimed this amendment today, Provost. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Jacqueline Cameron.
Just formally second the motion, thanks.
Okay.
Amendment rather.
Okay, Ian.
Thanks very much, Provost. As I say, we weren't expecting that. The reason that the whole motion was moved was the logistics and the practicalities of it. But if Councillor Nicholson is saying there's something going on in the background, we're more than happy to accept that. The only thing we just make sure that's reported back to us in some way, what the conclusion is, whether it comes back to the full council or it just comes back to us by email. As long as we're kind of kept in the picture, I'm more than happy. And certainly the Labour group is more than happy to accept a cash donation of £10,000 at a very difficult time for the food bank. We almost daily we pick up our newspapers or we get emails when we know that they're struggling. So, we are not going to knock that back, and we would support that donation 100%.
I think we all know how badly they're struggling. I know that Crystal's kept in touch with several of us to keep us up to date with the situation that they're in. So we're well aware. I think Ian actually did just give a commitment that the officers will work with the local members there. Is that what you said, Ian?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll be kept updated through the local the local councillors. Okay. We have another couple of people who want to come in just now. Councillor John McNaughton.
Thanks, Provost. I very much welcome the principle behind the motion. We run an SNP hub just round the corner from this food bank, so I appreciate the parking problems that businesses have in the area. But frankly, if best use of the money would not be to spend it on a permit, but we could, and we do use the parking, use the 1 hour free and top up as necessary, and the rest of the money which would otherwise have spent in a permit could go to the food. And just coincidentally, I bumped into one of the volunteers a couple of days ago heading to the food bank, and I asked him about the parking issues, and quite a number of the volunteers do come in public transport. So I think that the amendment is very much with the intention of allowing the food bank to operate and, if necessary, fund parking charges, and it wouldn't be it would be on the meters as the cheapest way of doing it, as and when required. And I think it's a much better approach, and it avoids any implications on policy beyond this particular issue. So I think that the amendment should be supported, and it gives the best of both worlds and it also addresses the issues that, more importantly, that the food bank have at this current time. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Jim Paterson.
Thanks, Provost. I've deferred to the local members' knowledge on this. It's not I'm not familiar with the parking issue. I just wanted to highlight about, in terms of the donation, I think that is a sensible thing to do, but also to highlight that it's not just us making a donation, that many other organisations are doing Christmas appeals for the Renfrewshire Food Bank. One I'd like to highlight is a newly constituted and kind of reformed Renfrew Community Council, who made a donation of £250 to the food bank this week, which is a significant amount of money for an organisation like the Community Council. And so it's great to see that the good that community councils can do, particularly when they've got the right people involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paterson. Okay, I'm going to bring in Carol Ann to sum up. You were the mover of the motion, Carol Ann. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Provost. Obviously, a bit more information since, as Councillor McMillan said, that was put in fault with this. Welcome £10,000 to the food bank. Nobody would not welcome that money. I'm just glad by putting this on the agenda today that this action came about, the £10,000, and the fact that officers are going to speak and organise something about parking, because it is highly unfair that it is only this particular distribution centre that's affected by the parking charges. So I do hope that the officers will engage with the food bank and keep myself in the loop with it as well to get something done about the parking, because £18 a week is 10% of that 10,000. If you work it out, the statistics, it's an awful lot of money. So I welcome the £10,000. I'll accept the amendment and hopefully work with officers to get the parking permits at the same time as well. Thank you.
Okay, Caroline, thank you. So can we agree the amendment? Agreed? Okay. Okay, so our choir is ready. Our young people are going to come in and sing their wee carols. So if we can stop recording, and while I'm going to go out and see the kids for a couple of minutes, so Dave is going to